There are obviously bad forms of religion, such as violent fundamentalism, doomsday cults, money-grubbing tele-evangelists, and plain charlatanry. But in this new three-part series, I will be exploring the more subtle ways that religion can devolve into the silly and banal. So let's discern together what makes for a religion of deep goodness. Paul Fussell was a professor of English at the University of Pennsylvania. In 1976, he won the National Book Award. Paul Fussell was a scholar of the top echelon, but his name betrayed a truth about him, for Paul Fussell was fussy. A fussy fuddy-duddy was he. Paul Fussell would look around at society and he didn't think things were quite right. He was on the lookout for things of low quality, and late in his career, he wrote a book simply called Bad. The fussy Fussell saw many things in our society that were of low quality, that were bad. So he wrote a book listing all of them. Bad food, bad theater, bad universities, bad books, bad engineering, bad architecture. He was sort of a one-man quality control unit, and he thought he saw a lot of things that were bad. And I am starting a sermon series called Bad Religion, and I mean the word bad precisely the way Paul Fussell did. You see, for Paul Fussell, bad wasn't just that something was of low quality. It was when something was of low quality, but trumpeted itself as being fantastic or excellent or fine. What frustrated the fussy Fussell was when marketing hype was always saying something was wonderful when it really was not all that. So I want to look at elements of religion. Religion can tend to hype itself and always say it's wonderful. But not all aspects of religion are of high quality. So that's what I mean by bad religion. I don't mean I'm going to preach about terrible religion. And frankly, there's a lot of terrible religion. I don't mean violent fundamentalisms like Muslim terrorists or, well, there's Timothy McVeigh Christian militia violent units, or I don't mean types of doomsday cults or cheesy televangelists, or, you know, there's lots of terrible, obviously terrible religion. I don't mean that. I mean bad religion, when it's really not so great, but it hypes itself, overplays itself. Really, in this sermon series, I want to be the character in one of my favorite novels. His name was Phaedrus. When I was 18 years old, my favorite book was Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And in this sermon series on bad religion, I want to be Phaedrus. In that book, Phaedrus was trying to explore what is the meaning of quality. I mean, things in life have a quality, but how do you define it? That's what I'm after in this sermon series. What makes for wonderful religion? Bad religion lacks quality. Phaedrus, in this book, was on a motorcycle trip from Minnesota to Northern California. And the book is this sort of epic exploration of this abstract notion of quality. Phaedrus talks about how you can tell when something has quality, but you can't isolate what is exactly the characteristic of quality itself. Quality seems to be embedded in the immediate and in the concrete, but you can't even talk about it abstractly. And yet quality and discerning quality is one of the fundamental aspects of being a human being. I mean, to be a person, you have to be able to decide between what is good and what is bad. That is a fundamental act of the will for the human being, and you have to seek the good. But quality is hard to define. Phaedrus talked about how it unites the notion of the subjective and the objective. You can't have any data-driven decisions on what is quality. It's subjective, but it does seem to be something that's really there. So what is quality? Essentially, in this sermon series, I'll be Phaedrus. I'll be looking for where is there quality in religion. And when there's a lack of quality, it's bad. So in this first week of this sermon series on bad religion, I want to talk about smugness. Oh, when a religion is smug, I think it's bad. Unfortunately, there's a lot of smug religion. There's something about religion that always just thinks it's about the best thing going. For example, there are some 40,000 Christian denominations in the world, and about every one of them thinks they're about the best denomination or the best form of Christianity. Oh, that's being smug. What are the chances, if there are 40,000 different Christian groups, that your Christian group is the best? There's almost no chance. But we act like we are. Do you know when a grandchild gives their grandparent a t-shirt that says like, "World's Best Grandpa"? And the grandpa wears that shirt because the child loved them so much, and it's a wonderful form of endearment. But the grandpa doesn't actually believe he's the world's best grandpa. He's wearing it ironically and with joy for the love of his grandchild. But Christian groups, they actually think they're the best. And if they wore a t-shirt saying the best form of Christianity, they would actually believe it. That's being smug. And that makes for bad religion. You see, religion has a tendency to constantly hype and market itself. Even at First-Plymouth, we become bad religion at times because if you look on social media, every event we hold at First-Plymouth, it says it's going to be wonderful and amazing. Now, some of our gatherings are wonderful and amazing, but hey, you know, not everything we do at First-Plymouth is amazing. Not everything. So there's an ongoing hype that even social media itself creates. But we wouldn't want to ever be smug here at First-Plymouth. We can laugh at the constant hype. You have to be on the watch for when smugness enters religion. For example, there's a litany I engage in at every new member group here at First-Plymouth, where I share about our particular denomination or grouping, the Congregational Church, or what's now called the United Church of Christ. And I launch off on this litany, but I have to be careful. It could sound smug. I talk about how in one sense we were the first form of Christianity on the North American shore when the Pilgrims came on the Mayflower. That was us. And they landed at Plymouth Rock. That's why we're called First-Plymouth. And how they began these religious societies that were based on a democratic spirit. Each person had a freedom of conscience, and each member held a vote, and collective decisions were made through voting. We became sort of an early democratic society that created the government of this nation, and I talk about how foundational we were, and I talk about how amazing we were in that it was the Congregational Church that ordained the first African American to ministry in the 1850s. We were the first to ordain a woman in the 1850s as well. I talk about how we've always been in conversation with science, and when Darwin came out, lots of Christians were freaked out that you had to have a literal interpretation of Genesis, and how could you believe in the theory of evolution? But congregational ministers embraced that God could work through natural selection. And I talk about how we were the first church to ordain an openly gay man in 1972. I talk about all of our firsts and how we led the way. And if I'm not careful, well, it could sound smug. Like I think our form of Christianity is all that and a bag of potato chips, right? You see, really good religion doesn't have to hype itself. So be on the watch out for smug religion. Smug religion will tend to tell you more about God or more about the cosmos than is possible to know. And it will act like it's just simple, true knowledge. God is a mystery. All of the tenets of the Christian faith ultimately are a mystery we hold, not a simple proposition we expound. But smug religion will tell you more about God than it could possibly know. Smug religion loses all sense of mystery and infinity. It thinks it has hold of it, and it will tell you about it. Watch out for smug religion. Smug religion is always declaring things. Smug religion makes proclamations. And smug religion is bad religion. Good religion is more about listening than it is expounding. Good religion will listen for where the voices of truth around it are speaking. For example, for the poor and the downtrodden, they would at times have the best sense of reality. Good religion will listen to their voice rather than make claims about what we should do to make a better world. It would listen to the voice that emerges from below. Watch out for smug religion. It's bad religion. I'm thinking of Luke 14 right now. In Luke 14, Jesus notices people coming to a dinner party are all scrambling for the best seats, for the seats of honor. And then he tells a little parable about how when you come to a dinner table, seat yourself in the most lowly place. Be humble. And then he says, it will be the humble that will be truly exalted, and the exalted will be humbled. Well, that's not just a parable about how to live your life. I think it's a parable for good religion. Good religion wouldn't always seek a spot at the head of the table. Good religion is humble, gentle. Bad religion buys a new motorcycle. Good religion works on an old motorcycle. Let me explain. It was Phaedrus in that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, that said there are certain types of people that will buy a new motorcycle, not know anything about engines, and whenever something is wrong, they'll just take it to get fixed. They never really engage in the deep quality issues of their bike. They just use it. There's another type of person that buys an old motorcycle, learns how to problem solve the engine, fix things, learns how to understand how it works, and that's the joy. You see, we each have this choice. How much will we care in life about quality? I can't define quality, but you know it when you see it, you know it when you engage it and try to create it. Together, we're trying to create good religion. May God bless us in this. Amen.